Hello, I'm Harry Hobson, President and CEO of Plymouth Harbor.
And I'm Karen Novak, the Administrator for Strategic Healthcare here at Plymouth Harbor as well.
Karen, as you know, today we're going to touch on a couple of different topics. What I want to do is certainly do what we normally do as far as a campus update regarding any COVID activities. And then we'll share some additional vaccine news, specifically how it's going to impact our team members and possibly a few residents who may not have received their vaccine yet. And then I'll talk about some upcoming topics next week when we do our video update. I want to transition some of our discussion to cover on a more broad basis what's going on the campus. I'll talk about that in a few minutes. But why don't we begin with a COVID campus update?
Well, I love to share the news that we have no residents that are actually positive, and the four that we do have in observation are all post discharge from the hospital. So they've not been truly exposed, but we keep them in an observation period after they're discharged from a hospital. Here at Plymouth Harbor, we keep them in that observation for 10 days. We do have four team members that are positive, two of which are in dining services and two are in health services. We do expect them back next week. We're looking forward to that. Additionally, we have one of our team members that is in observation. Believe it or not, his family all came back positive. So he is out for 10 days, and we look forward to having him back as well. So, all in all, Harry, we're doing very well.
Good, good. It's certainly been a busy time around here. I know with our vaccine clinics. We'll talk a little bit about that, but it's really a very rewarding to know that essentially all of our residents have received the vaccine. Uh, and, there's no question that it's a great time to be a member of the Plymouth Harbor family. Now, we've got a long road ahead of us yet. We know that, even though we've received our vaccines, but we have to continue to social distance. I know some
Absolutely.
folks feels, oh, you get the vaccine, and after the booster, 2 weeks later, off come the masks. So why don't you set the record straight again today?
Absolutely. You can still carry or transmit COVID. So we're going to be in mask probably throughout this whole year. And we want to remind you to keep that social distance as well as washing your hands and hitting those contact areas. The vaccine means you're safe. You have 95% immunity after 2 weeks after that second booster, but you can still transmit or be a carrier of the actual virus itself. So again, we'll be in masks for quite some time this year. Maybe things will change and it'll happen a little bit before, but I'm thinking probably throughout the rest of this year.
And that's what we've been talking about ourselves, that in all likelihood, we will continue through 2021 wearing our masks for sure and practicing social distancing.
All those parameters that we've had in place ever since day one will still continue until we really get hold of this virus and get everybody vaccinated and really achieve that herd immunity. We're also looking at the positivity rates, here in Sarasota. It's nice to see them starting to come down, which is wonderful news. We'd like to see it hit that 5% or less, that low risk factor. But we're not quite there yet, but I have a feeling soon we'll hit those numbers.
Mhm. Well, Karen, I know you were on the call with me as well with our trade association, Leading Age, and during that call, they reported that on a national basis, only 38% of healthcare team members have been vaccinated across the country. Now, we've been able to increase our numbers. Okay, we exceeded the 38. We were at 42% before our campaign, and currently we're just slightly over 55%. Uh, but we're still not satisfied. We are going to continue a campaign, and I was very happy when you called yesterday that you did receive another phone call from CVS, and they let us know that they do have enough vaccines if we want to go back out with our team members and those very few residents, and there can't be very many of those that have not received the vaccine. And so we will be doing that one more time. And truly, this will be the last time that we're going to hold another clinic. It'll be this coming Wednesday on February 10th in the Mayflower Dining Room. And we're urging team members who have not received the vaccine to please come forward and do that. And then on March 5th, those folks would receive their boosters. So we know it's the final time that we're going to receive this offer, because CVS's relationship or contract will terminate at the end of February, except for that booster date on March 5th. So there'll be no more opportunities for a first vaccine.
This is such an incredible time that we have, and an incredible relationship that we have with CVS. They have been abundantly generous with us. And, you know, this is that last time. There is no more. So if you haven't had the vaccine, please really think about it. Save that life. Make your home as safe as Plymouth Harbor.
Karen, I have to tell you, earlier this week when we went through the vaccine clinic, and once again, we've now surpassed 1,500 vaccines given here at Plymouth Harbor through its clinic. But I saw several team members who were committed to get the vaccine, and they were scared. Okay, and in two occasions, I went into the clinic with them, and it didn't hurt at all, and they were so happy that they went through that process. So I would encourage folks to do that. If you look back on some 1,500, we've had absolutely no major side effects at all. We've had a few sore arms or minor headaches for maybe 24 to 36 or 48 hours later, but that's it. So it's been a very successful vaccine experience, really, for all involved at this point.
Absolutely. You know, we've got this process down to right to the very last T. I think we could actually set the standard for the governor in getting all those vaccines distributed for the state.
Well, quite a few people have said that to us, and we appreciate that. And it's so much hard work and planning by our team members to make it happen, not to mention the cooperation that we've received from our residents and also team members. And let's not leave out the Resident Association leadership, who's worked side by side with us as volunteers during those clinics. And we so much appreciate that. Now, I'm also going to be sharing with everyone next week that we are going to go through a policy change that relates to how we will be managing our paid time off for those team members who are required not to work up to 10 to 14 days per episodes of contact tracing or a diagnosis of COVID. Now, that policy is in final review right now, and that will be announced to our team members tomorrow. In addition to that, we are revising our hiring policy here at Plymouth Harbor, and that'll state that only candidates who have either received the vaccine or plan to receive the vaccine will be eligible for employment at Plymouth Harbor going forward. And Karen, we're just committed to trying to make Plymouth Harbor the safest possible environment to both not only live, but work as well.
Absolutely. And we are determined to be that place. Yes.
Absolutely. So more to come on our next video update next week. And mentioning that video next week, we're also going to begin to transition our conversation toward looking at what to expect between now and, let's say, the first part of May, as it relates to the possibility of reopening some of our services and amenities. Karen, I know you receive phone calls, as I do. You know, when are we going to reopen the dining room, transportation, some of the other activities that we have here? So we're focused on it, but as I always toss the ball back to Karen by saying, it's all about the numbers.
Absolutely. We look at the evidence-based practices and the best practices that are out there. But mostly we look at the risk and looking at the CDC and their risk scores. And again, it's that 5% positivity rate in the community or the county that we really want to aim for before we really start opening up. And we're almost there.
Yes. And next week, as I just mentioned in our update, we'll begin talking about that and possibly being in a position of reopening some of those sometime closer to the 1st of May. In addition to that, I know folks are curious about some of our capital projects here. So we'll have a couple guests here, including George McGonigal. George is our Vice President of Facilities here at Plymouth Harbor, and he'll give us some updates on what's going on with our capital projects, two big projects, one that will soon come to conclusion, and that's the elevator modernization for the tower elevators. And then also our hurricane window replacement project, and that's moving along very well. And we'll ask George some questions about that as well. And then some other isolated projects.
We're
So,
really looking forward to having SCC have those hurricane windows so that we don't have to evacuate. We can shelter in place. That is going to be just absolutely wonderful.
yeah, absolutely. Well, Karen, once again, I'd like to personally thank all of our residents and team members who have participated in the vaccination process here at Plymouth Harbor. You know, when we conclude this in just a few more weeks now, we will exceed over 2,000 vaccines that we've given here at Plymouth Harbor. And as you said earlier, and I will reiterate, the partnership with CVS has been just an A+ experience. They feel the same way. You know, when you come in on a Sunday morning at 7:30 and they're in here preparing for the next day's clinic is pretty phenomenal.
It sure was. And we're very thankful for the teamwork that they have. A
Absolutely.
great group of people, a really nice group.
Right, right. And just to remind everyone, and we had a good suggestion that came up, by the way, on the clinic. You know, we identify the 8 stations and we have the pharmacists right there. But just remind everybody, all of those folks that are actually administering the vaccine are registered pharmacists.
Mhm.
So you can be assured of that. So no, I'm not administering any of the vaccines myself. So you don't have to worry about that.
And we have great nurses that kind of keep an eye on things too.
We sure do. Well, Karen, that pretty much concludes the items I think we had on our agenda today. Would you like to take us to the conclusion of this video?
Absolutely. We want to remind you, please keep that social distance. Even though you're vaccinated, we want to make sure we keep that 6-foot perimeter around you at all times. Remember to wash your hands quite frequently during the day and hit those high contact areas with those antibacterial wipes. But most of all, we're still going to be using our mask for quite some time. So anytime that you leave your apartment or in Plymouth Harbor, the actual facility, please remember to don your mask. It's going to save your life or somebody else's.
Excellent. Karen, thank you very much. And I think that brings conclusion to this video. It's time to don our masks.